What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Dust Lansdale YouTube channel. It's been a while since I did a video. I got in a car wreck and all kinds of stuff. Whenever I'm back, we're gonna make some good videos. So I want to show y'all this Isuzu Power Tech diesel generator I picked up the other day. I actually traded a car for it and was hoping I was getting a good deal. You can help me work on it in a minute. But right here it is. It's got an Isuzu 3-cylinder. It's actually called a 3LB1, and I've searched the internet far and wide, and I found like 2 videos on this engine. And the problem I'm having, I got it home and got it running. It was missing a fuel line, so I made one out of this. It's actually off a Duramax engine, and it works. It's dumping fuel out of all 3 of these little injection pump units, and it's got water in the oil and oil in the radiator. So I'm gonna pull the head gasket, the head off now, and later on I'm gonna try to pull those injection pump deals apart. I watched one guy's video and he said there's some O-rings in there you can change. You just gotta be real careful. One thing that's holding me back is it has a 10mm penta screw, or the bolt is shaped like a pentagon, and there's an O-ring under this, and there's O-rings down in here. This whole little sleeve comes up out of there. So I really ain't worked on many injection pumps. I worked on diesel engines. Between them and gas engines, they're pretty much the same inside. But now in the injection pump system, there's lots of springs and small pieces, kind of like in a carburetor, but used in a different way. I changed the oil the other day, and it wasn't running on the front cylinder, which it took me a while to get it running, but it wasn't much. This line was actually missing off of the front cylinder. It was just gone, and the guy didn't know where it was at. So then I ended up making that a line. I moved over here, and the front cylinder started running, and when I did that, it started blowing water and back out the radiator cap. So I know the head gasket's blowed somehow on that front cylinder, or it's cracked. Other than that, it's building up a ton of crankcase pressure, so I don't know where the blow-by comes out, because there's no blow-by. But if you leave the oil cap off, it runs fine. It doesn't have very much blow-by, but you got to have a crankcase vent to let pressure out, because some is going to get past the pistons and rings. We got to figure that out. I done took the valve cover off, so I can set that off. You got bolts around here. I ain't finished getting them all out. And then like the rocker arms come off with this second valve cover. Like a small version of a Duramax engine. I believe Duramax engines are made by Isuzu anyway, so a lot of the stuff looks the same. I'll get this next cover off. We'll see if we can get the head bolts off. Okay, I was taking a look at the bottom of the valve cover, and if you see this groove right here, it goes to this round piece with the 4 screws on top. And that's actually a PVC valve that's supposed to let the crankcase vent into the intake manifold area. The intake and the valve cover are the same, and them lines run from here. One of them goes to the top of this piece, does something with the injection system, and the other one goes to the center of the case here. And this isn't an injection pump under here, it's actually the side of the engine block, and those run off of the camshaft. So that should be venting. My crankcase pressure out is venting out right here to this compartment in the under the valve cover, and it should be venting out to intake. And I think it's supposed to let air out and not let air come back in, and it's not letting any out. So I might have to take that apart. I think it's got some kind of diaphragm in there or something. I'll get this cover off. Okay, so I got all the bolts out of this piece. Don't forget to get that one out right there if you're taking one of these apart, because it was kind of hidden, and it's kind of tight, but it slides up off of there, or it's just got silicone on the bottom. And then we're actually to the cast iron head. There's the head. Here's all the push rods. So now I got to remove my injector lines, and I guess I can leave the exhaust pipe on there because it's just sitting there. And I think we got one wire here on a coolant temperature thing. Oh, and I'm gonna have to pull this radiator off because the thermostat neck and the radiator hoses are connected to the side of the head. So let me get all that off. Alright, so I went in and I got the radiator off and the fan shroud and all that stuff. It's over there. Right here you can see the fan. The fan was rubbing the top of the fan shroud. It was like eating it up real bad. I got, looked to be 3 or 4 bolts back here, so I'm probably gonna have to pull the fan off to get the water pump off. Hoses goes to is all one piece, so half of it's bolted to the head and half's bolted to the block. It's gonna have to come off. The water pump's gonna have to come off. So I have to take the fan off, and then the pulley will come off, and then this piece, and then I can take the head bolts out. I got the exhaust off and all that. Yeah, radiator was nasty. It was full of oil and everything else. So hopefully it ain't too bad in here, and hopefully the head's not cracked, because there ain't no way I can get the head for this thing. I mean, I can buy one, but it's going to cost as much as what the thing's worth. And I just wanted to use this for backup power, standby power. If I just wanted to go off grid, I could freaking start it up and run the whole house. This thing, it's got like, I believe this is like a 40 horsepower diesel engine, but it's only coupled to, it's claiming it's rated at 8 kilowatt generator. So I believe that's only 8,000 watts. So we got plenty of motor, not very big of a generator. I don't know what the deal was that. I found one of these on eBay like this, and it had a hydraulic pump on the side of it with the generator. So I don't know what they needed hydraulics with it, but whatever. I guess it was made to run more than just the generator, something like that. Now this thing does have an alternator on it too, which that alternator is not functioning, because first day I got this thing home and started it, I was going to video it, no, I didn't. Whatever, I cranked it and it was running, and smoke started blowing out of the alternator, and it burnt this little circle out in the back. So probably what I'm going to do, it's a generator, I got plenty of power coming out back there, so I'll just take a battery charger and plug in and then just hook to the battery. So all it's got to run, the 12 volt system, after the engine starts, it's got to run a electric fuel pump if I don't do a gravity feed tank, and it has to keep this solenoid drawed back the whole time to keep the fuel rack open in the run position, because as soon as the power goes away, it clicks back shut, killing the engine. So that's the only thing we really need 12 volts for. So I'm probably just take a little battery charger, hook to it, it'll charge the battery while it's running, and that'll solve that alternator issue, because I probably won't find one of them alternators. So I got a Nissan alternator over there on the table, but it's way bigger than that one. But whatever, that'll just be a pulley, I guess. But alrighty, we'll do the next part then. I'll get this water pump jerked off. Alright guys, I went ahead and got the fan off. Now you can look at it. We got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 7 12mm bolts we got to pull out. Point back down. We got 7mm bolts. We'll pull this water pump off, and we should be able to remove the head then. But and we'll get that pulled off. But this timing cover, you ain't got to pull it. It's just going to the injection pump camshaft water pump spot itself. Alright, so I got the water pump jerked off. It's been apart before because there's a bunch of red silicone under there.
I can't imagine no more.
Alright, I got all the head bolts out. So now I'm going to try to get this dang head off here. Let's see how bad the head gasket looks. Okay, so there's the cylinders. Surprisingly, I don't see any water in there. Right here's the head gasket. Ugh, that brown stuff's what the coolant looked like. But somehow, oil was getting in the water and water was getting in the oil. I don't think any was getting actually in the combustion chamber, but we was getting compression out into the water system. So I'm gonna look at his head real good and make sure it is not cracked nowhere. And it also could be cracked in this. I figured the injector would stick out, but this one has like a pocket for the injector spray from. But remember, that one looks clean. This brownish color, I don't know about that. That's making me a little leery, but it looks like it came out of this hole from the injector. So I don't know what that's from. But normally these heads crack right between the valves. It is a cast iron head though. But if it's nothing serious, I'll clean the bottom of the head, clean the head gasket, because it actually isn't blowed like I thought it was. I'll clean it real good and drown it in copper coat, head gasket spray, and put it back on there. But it could be warped too. But I don't know. I might get my dad to come look at it and see what he thinks. But yeah, The holes are stopped up with silicone or something. So I don't know if somebody took it off, tried to use ultra black on there. But normally if you do a head gasket and you don't have the gasket, you know, patch it up like it wasn't blowed that bad, you can use copper coat. But ultra black, silicone, something like that, it'll just stop up the holes and push it out of the way because it ain't strong enough. Especially not for a diesel engine like this. But I'm just worried water was getting in or somewhere. But all these holes are like nasty. But I don't see a crack anywhere. I don't know about down in there. But alright. Hey, come look at this. See what, does that look like water was coming in there or what? What's that, you pink shit? No. These two cylinders was running good. That one wasn't.
That one with pink stuff wasn't worse than it.
He went home.
Sure imagine.
Well guys, I think I found the issue. I started looking real close at the engine block and there's some little hairline cracks in it. There's a crack right there. You probably can't even see it on camera, and that looks like a line. There's a crack from there, then it goes all the way over to right there, and right there, right there, and right there. It looks like it was caused by maybe somebody over torqued the head bolts. But yeah, that's cracked right into that head bolt. That one is, which that's all water in there, but I was pretty sure it was coming up and it was getting over. If it comes from here, it'll get over into the oil chambers somehow. It's water all around it. I know one of these, that's an oil hole there. Oil drains back down, I guess. Yeah, it drains back down through here. So this is separated with a little thin wall between the water and the oil. I don't see no cracks running from the water to the oil. So there's some cracks, probably letting the compression escape over into there. So I don't know what I'm gonna do on that. I guess I got screwed on this deal. But I might take copper coat crap out of the head gasket and dump a bottle of block head sealer in there and see if that'll fix it. I'll just use it for backup power or something. But if it keeps getting water in the oil, it's gonna destroy the engine. It's basically, the block is freaking shot with those damn cracks in it. But yeah, if it was just getting out of this crack, the water, and going to there, it'd be causing it to leak. Or if compression from this piston was going over to right here in this crack, it'll be shooting out there. It must have been coming from this cylinder too. You can see that crack there. But yep, so if you buy anything, make sure you look it over good, because I checked the oil when I bought it and it was pretty gold. I got home to crank it and it turned gray right away. I didn't look in the radiator, and I looked in the radiator and got home and noticed all the oil in the radiator. So oil's getting over and water's getting to the oil somehow. Alright guys, so what I did, I went in and cleaned the head gasket, cleaned the block and the head, and I coated the crap out of the block first with this, this is a ultra copper exhaust gasket sealer, little RTV, and it's for temps of about 1200 degrees, I think is what it said. So I coated the block. You can see it in the crack under there with it. I set the gasket on it. I coated the top side of the gasket, and what it was on this side of the crack where the injection pumps are and the push rods go through, the block had cracked and dropped down, leaving a gap between the block and the head for the water to jump over into the slot where the push rods go down, and it was pouring over into the oil. So I'm hoping, I know the silicone's good about keeping water from leaking out of the engine and oil from leaking out of the engine, like behind the water pump or a timing cover. So I put them two thick layers on there. I set the head back on, and I just snugged the bolts. So I'm gonna give it 24 hours to dry like it says, so it'll be dry. Because if I tighten it up right now, I know it'll squeeze it all out and I won't get a good seal. Now if I wait for it to dry, it'll get real thick and then it'll tighten down. It won't squeeze out. It'll make a really tight seal in there. And that's about the only thing I know to do. I didn't want to waste money buying a new head gasket and everything on a motor that's got a cracked block. So I'll try that. If it don't work, we'll pour some block sealer in there. But like I said, it's just a standby generator. It's not a truck or nothing. So it only runs at 1,000 RPM. So basically just idles all its life. So maybe we can get it patched up enough where I can use it for backup power. I just can't have water going in the oil because it's going to burn the rod bearings out. So hopefully that'll seal it up. There's just some dang little cracks. There's just enough space for that to get through. That stuff's real good at taking up gaps. So let it dry, come back and torque everything back down, and we'll go from there. Alright guys, it's been like 2 days. I done went ahead and torqued the head down and put the valve cover and everything back on the old generator. So now what I was working on was these injection pumps are pouring fuel out right here, and this is actually these 2 bolts are called pentagon screws or pinto screws, something like that. And this is a sleeve that runs down in here, and whenever I pulled the little pieces out of the top, they have like a needle valve seat and a little plunger type deal. But whatever, these are supposed to be like tamper proof. You're supposed to have a specialized diesel socket to get them out, and I've tried beating on these things vice grips, and I haven't had any luck. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a grinder, and it's probably not recommended, and everybody's probably gonna drop at me about it, but I'm gonna cut a flathead slot in this one and see if I can get it out. If I can't get it out, I'm gonna try to like cut it where I can unscrew it, and hopefully it's just regular 10mm thread under there, and I will replace these bolts with regular bolts. But I got to get this sleeve out. So there's 2 O-rings on the outside of it, and they're pouring fuel out underneath this crack, and I want to get that fixed because I'm going to lose a bunch of fuel, and hopefully the head gasket sealed up like it was supposed to. So I'm going to try to get them out and see what I can do there. Okay, so as you can see here, I know it's kind of blurry. The camera just hates the lighting in here for some reason. But I cut a slot in it, a little bit bigger than I wanted it to be. I'm hoping that's not a nut, because I see a circle in the center, but I don't believe it's a nut. So whatever, I'm going to try to unscrew it and see if I can get that out. I got a pry bar here. Let's see if I can just shove it in here like that and see if I can get it to turn. Okay, so I ended up grinding the flat spot for the screwdriver to go in, and whatever, that didn't work. So I found this giant chisel and put right on the edge right there and hit it, and it finally broke loose. So now I'm just going to try to chisel the other ones loose and see what I can do. Okay, well, I managed to get 2 of the pinto bolts out, so I'm going to try to pull this sleeve up out of the hole. The guy in the video said, so these are the pieces that come off. I'm going to dump the stuff out of them, the washer and the spring. I'm going to screw this back in there because he said you don't want to twist this. You just want to pull it straight up, because if you twist it, it could misalign the injection pump timing. And I just fucked up twisting it. Whatever. There's a way to tell. You can unscrew this, and on top of all the tiny pistons, there's a notch pointing back this way. So if it gets out of time, I think it twists the piston in there. Wherever you screw this in enough where you can grab it, you lift it straight up. Okay, So you see that little gear down in there around that piston? It's way down in there. You just don't want that to pick up. As long as it stays meshed with the teeth, we should be fine, because it doesn't line up to nothing on this. But right here is the 2 O-rings. So I'm going to replace them 2 O-rings on every one of these, and probably coat this top layer with silicone. Or no, I can't. Well, maybe on this side of the O-ring I can, around the top plate. We don't want any dirt to get in there. I got a little in mine. I'm hating it already, so this thing was so dirty. But alright, let me get this cleaned up, and let's see what we can do next. Okay, so I went in and dumped the guts out of this thing to see how complicated it really was. So this is your injection pump piston cylinder right here. Like, this is the cylinder that the piston runs in. Well, if you look, it's got that notch right there, and there's a roll pin, a tiny one, punched in the side, and that actually falls down, and it can only go in there in that direction, or it won't set down. So I mean, you really can't mess this up, because there's only one way to go. As long as you don't pick up the stuff in there, you should be fine. Now this sleeve does go back around that gear somehow, and I don't know, it's kind of scary down in there, but whatever, as long as we don't mess with the timing, the engine won't run away and blow up, hopefully, and I can stop my little fuel leaks. So I had a set of cat O-rings. Another thing, you want to pay attention to this hole, because this hole lines up with the fuel inlet hole inside there. So whatever, I put 2 of them cat O-rings. I don't know the number. They're not the right size, because I had to stretch them over it, but it was the closest thing I got, other than AC O-rings, and I think diesel eat AC O-rings. These are cat O-rings for like hydraulic lines, so they're pretty strong, but it fits snug in there. I'm gonna put a tad of silicone on the top side right here, just for extra precaution, because I don't want it to leak. Hopefully it don't get through into the fuel injector. But alright. Okay, I also noticed on these pumps, I was saying that they're preset, that they're non-adjustable, where you can turn the fuel up and down. I just figured out how you do that. See, these bolt holes are slotted, so if you actually twist this like that, you can turn the fuel spray, how much is going in to the injectors, kind of like turn it up, blow black smoke or whatever. You can turn it up and down right there. It's slightly, but it's enough. It changes the stuff down there where it goes into the little piston pump, so it'll put more fuel per injection. But the gear in that hole is attached to a rack under this side cover, and that's attached to this preset lever, which is set for the generator RPM speed, which is 1800 RPMs. So basically it running at just a hair bit over idle. But these was dead center. I can see where the old bolts were, and they're all set pretty much dead center. So I'm just gonna put them back, because I don't want it blowing black smoke. I just want it to be cheap on fuel and run for a long time. So now if you're gonna pull this motor and put it in like a car or a tractor or something, you might want to turn them up to get more horsepower out of it, but I'm gonna leave it how it was. And I put a little silicone underneath there with that O-ring, just to make sure we don't get a leak. And I'm gonna find some new bolts, hopefully, because I don't want to put these back in there, because these are a nightmare. Alright, well, I'm gonna see if I can get this thing to start. might have messed something up. See, it started easier than that before. It just ain't wanting to crank now. I know it's getting fuel because it's blowing black smoke like crazy. Hopefully it's not too much fuel. But I really don't want to burn the starter up because it's probably a fortune for another one. But I've tried the glow plugs. Pretty sure they're working. Not 100%. But it's got a switch right here for the dang glow plugs. And this one's a fuel pump. So in run position, they're both supposed to be up. Flip it down to turn the glow plugs on. And I mean, I can tap it here and see if we're getting juice. Yeah, we got power to the glow plugs for sure. And this one glow plug, it's got a short in it, so it don't work. So I mean, it should have done busted off, unless I still got air in the system. But I haven't seen a single fuel leak this time, so I did something right there. But I'm gonna kick these glow plugs back off because I don't want to burn them up. But I should get fire on these two cylinders if I'm getting fuel. So I'm gonna break these fuel lines back loose. Hit her again. There's fuel coming out, so I'm either killing the starter or killing the battery. Hopefully it's just the battery. Alright, so I was having a hard time getting it to start a while ago. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the valve cover off and go back and set the valves or make sure they ain't all too tight. That maybe we can bump up the compression a little bit, hoping that homemade style gasket ain't leaking already. But I went ahead and put the radiator and everything back on, the exhaust, filled it up with water and antifreeze, so that way if it don't start, I'm just going to post the thing on Facebook and sell it or trade it for something else. But alrighty. Okay, so I got the valve cover back off. I've checked all the valves and they are good and loose, so ain't none of them too tight. So I guess we'll just try to start it again and maybe something will happen. Oh, the starters. It's alive! It took me 20 minutes to start it. I got it started. Back up Well guys, I guess I'm gonna sell the generator. It runs, but you kill it, and it's really hard to start back. So, I don't know, might be a dang. Have to have ether every time, but there it is. But appreciate everybody watching. Like and subscribe.